So you want to live frugally and retire early, or perhaps you just want to reach financial independence. Did you know that there are a number of ways you can go about achieving this goal? Some of the ways will be faster and some will take more time. If you're looking to FIRE, or even just be more conscious with your money and investments, I'm going to tell you about all the different ways you can go about achieving this goal. And yes, there are a number of ways you can do this. Remember, the goal is simply to get as much of your time back as possible, and any way you do that is a win in my book. Before we go on, I'm going to quickly talk about how financial independence is achieved using the 25 times rule, just so we're all on the same page, because I'm going to be referring back to this. So the idea is to figure out how much you need to retire. You're going to have to save 25 times your annual expenses. Meaning, for example, if you spend $30,000 a year, you're going to need 25 times 30,000 in a portfolio that's invested, that's generating returns. So 30 times 25, that's going to be $750,000. If you need 40,000, it's going to be $1 million. If you need 50,000, it's going to be $1.25 million, and so on. Now, this doesn't take into account the impacts of taxes. That's going to be specific to where you live, so just look into that and consider that it's probably going to be a little higher than 25. Now, let's go over the types of FIRE that we're talking about, and we're going to weigh the pros and cons of each. So first we have FIRE Classic. I don't think anyone calls it that, but I'm going to call it that. So FIRE Classic is pretty straightforward. You just have a portfolio that is 25 times your annual expenses, and now you're good. You can withdraw 4% per year from this portfolio, and you will have I believe a 95% chance of lasting 30 years. Not too bad. The pros of this is it's going to be a fairly comfortable retirement. You have a fairly high probability of success, and your income is going to be fully passive, which is great. You don't really have to work. Cons, well, it's going to take a while getting there, and you need to make big sacrifices. Generally speaking, you can have no kids or maybe a maximum of one child, since kids are pretty expensive. A modest house and, modest cars. You're not really living it up, but you're really getting all of your time back. Another con is it's going to be really difficult in high cost of living areas. Generally, if it's medium cost of living or low cost of living areas, you could probably do this fairly simply, but high cost of living areas is going to be tough. And one of the problems with FIRE, and this is going to be a repeating theme, is that you are going to forfeit the highest earning years of your career, and you're going to be leaving a lot of earning potential on the table. Now, FIRE Classic has two variations, which I don't know if you'd consider them types, but I'm going to. And they're really the same thing. You save 25 times, but there are slight differences. So the first variation is Fat FIRE. And what is Fat FIRE? Well, this is where you retire and you are really living it up lavishly. So oftentimes you're going to want an annual expenses of $200,000 a year. Like whether it's $100,000, $200,000, that's going to depend on the cost of living in the area where you retire. But generally speaking, the idea is you're going to be living fairly lavishly. Vacations, maybe flying business class to all your destinations and that sort of thing. Generally speaking, $100,000 a year of annual expenses, you would need a $2.5 million portfolio, and up to $200,000 of expenses, you're probably going to need a $5 million portfolio. Pros: very comfortable retirement, fairly high probability of success if you earn a lot of money, and of course, just as FIRE Classic, your income is going to be fully passive. Cons: for most people, probably won't happen until they're in their 50s. And that's not very far from traditional retirement anyway, so you're probably going to get yourself 10 extra years. And this is going to take a lot longer in high cost of living areas, meaning your expenses are going to be high. Or if you want to retire in a high cost of living area with Fat FIRE, you want to retire lavishly, that's going to take you a lot longer, and realistically speaking, it's only possible with a fairly high income. So if you're one of those tech bros earning, $3, $4, $500,000 a year, this is very possible. But for most people earning a median wage or even 2 or 3 times the median wage, that's probably not going to happen. The opposite of this is lean fire. Now, lean fire is where you also save 25 times your expenses, but really you're not looking to live that lavishly. You're looking to live very lean and just get your time back as fast as possible. So generally speaking, people will retire with an annual expenses of, let's say, $20,000 to $30,000. That's pretty tight for most people, and that's going to be equivalent to a $500,000 to $750,000 portfolio. This can allow you to achieve financial independence extremely quickly, and these are the types of people you will see who are going to be living with roommates or in vans and are never going to eat out and are very likely to be minimalists. Okay, lean fire pros. Fast. It happens fast, really fast, in 10 years or fewer. If you can save 66% to 80% of your income, you're probably going to get there really quickly, and you could probably call it quits in your early 30s or mid 30s. Another pro, as with all fire, is your income is fully passive. Cons, you're going to have very little flexibility with your budget. Okay, if there are unexpected items, unexpected expenses, and things that come up, that's going to be tough for you to swallow. Another thing about lean fire is your sacrifices have to align with your lifestyle. Otherwise, the extreme frugality that's required to pull this off is not going to be sustainable, right? So it has to be something that you don't mind doing. There's a lot of things you're going to be giving up. It's going to be super difficult in high cost of living areas and even challenging in medium cost of living areas. And one of the biggest cons here is that your retirement would happen right about the time when you are poised to get much higher income, right? If you're going to be retiring 10 years, you get that 10 years of experience in whatever job you're doing, you're probably at that stage where you can become a manager, you can pop from different jobs, and you are leaving a lot of money on the table. Lean fire is not something most people will be realistically able to pull off. I also believe that it's not really about retiring in your early 30s and not really doing anything for the next 50 years. This is really for people who want their time back so they can pursue what they really want to do. So a lot of individuals might want to start their own business, or they just need more time. Maybe they want to go into career paths that don't maybe produce a lot of income right off the bat. Maybe they want to become an artist or a writer, and all they really need is time. And this is what lean fire allows. You save a lot and you get free, you call it quits on your job, and now you can go ahead and pursue whatever passion you have and hopefully monetize that. Barista fire. This is essentially fire but with a part-time job. Now the idea here with barista fire is you basically fire, but you have a part-time job. Now the part-time job here is generally not taken up to address any cash flow issues or cash flow gaps, but rather it's there to help you get access to benefits, health benefits, and that sort of thing. Of course, the extra money doesn't hurt. Of course, not all part-time jobs offer great benefits, and the idea originated from really Starbucks, where Starbucks was known to give really good benefits, even for its part-time employees. So a lot of individuals, once they had a certain portfolio, they decided, or they had the option of deciding to simply work at Starbucks, access the health benefits and other benefits, and not have to worry about going and doing it full-time. Pros of barista fire: fairly comfortable retirement, high probability of success, greater security for healthcare and access to benefits, and your additional income, while not generally taken to address a cash flow gap, the additional income might mean a lower withdrawal rate and consequently a higher margin of safety. Cons: similar to other fire types, it takes a while getting there. Big sacrifices might need to be made, few or no kids, modest house, modest income level. Same problem as with the other fire types, you are going to be leaving a lot of income potential on the table. This is suitable for people who need healthcare or have dependents that need healthcare and other benefits. You're not completely financially independent, as you still have to rely on a job for benefits, but it does mean less stress and more time to live your life and do what you really want to do. Job. The word coast in Coast Fire refers to coasting as in moving easily without using power. And the idea is that in the beginning of your career, when you're earning, you want to save as aggressively as you can, and then you're going to, after accumulating maybe $100, $200, $300,000, you take your proverbial foot off the gas, and you can now go ahead and spend more and live a more lavish lifestyle. Here's an example. Let's say our friend Donnie is 25 years old and spends $25,000 a year for expenses and saves $25,000 a year. So his take-home pay is $50,000, spends $25,000 and saves $25,000. If he continues to plow money in to, let's say, just the S&P, $25,000 per year for 10 years, age 35, he will end up with $329,000, assuming a 6% growth, which is fairly conservative and removes inflation. Now that he's 35, let's say he gets married and he ends up with a 0% savings rate, spending his entire $50,000 take-home per year. Donnie therefore stops adding to his $329,000 and lets it ride, earning 6% until he's 65 years old. He will end up with a cool $1.89 million and with a corresponding 4% withdrawal rate of $75,000. This is far more than his annual expenses of $50,000. His 4% withdrawal rate would equal to $50,000 at age 58, when you'd have a portfolio of $1.2 million. He would be able to retire early, but not really early by the standards of the FIRE community. Well, this might not seem like a very bad deal for a lot of people. If you're gonna work till 65 anyways, why not save aggressively in the beginning and then really theoretically not save at all after, and just let your initial nest egg ride and grow, and it will be there ready for you when you're 65, ready to give you a very good lifestyle. Well, there are certain big dangers with this. See, the market sometimes goes nowhere for decades. Without substantial additions, you don't end up dollar cost averaging in. So there's a decent chance you might end up with really no growth over a decade-long period. You can see that in the 10 years from 1971 to 1981, the real return, so the real inflation adjusted, that's the real return, that's the compound annual growth rate, the return that really matters for the S&P between 1971 and 1981, including dividends, was negative 1%, negative 0.92%. That is a negative real return over a 10-year period. The negative CAGR occurred again in the period between 2000 and 2010 with a even worse real return of negative 2%, leaving you with really 80% of the money that you would have started with. Now, I'm completely aware that I have cherry-picked the data points here just to illustrate my point. The idea is you have to be careful when choosing Coast Fire because there are decade-long periods with negative returns or flat returns that the market has experienced. So if you are going the Coast Fire route, I would recommend still plowing in 10 to 20% of your take-home pay just so you can take advantage of drawdowns and corrections and still average in and still participate in the market. The pros are obviously you only need to save aggressively for a limited period of time. You also can live a more lavish lifestyle. The cons is your portfolio may not perform very well over a long period of time since you are front-loading a lot of your investments. And secondly, you are going to be working quite a bit and you're probably not going to be retiring early, at least not by the standards of the FIRE community. By the time you retire, it's probably going to be in your late 50s to mid-60s, and you're really only going to save a couple of years. There you have it. That's the pros and cons of the different types of fire. Let me know what you guys think, comment down below, and if you feel like you got value from this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.